My husband refused to play Barbie dolls with our son.
That's really uncool, man. You should probably do that.
And there is a trigger warning for emotional abuse. This is my first time posting on Reddit, and I need advice regarding a situation that feels weird. My 33 female little one, 5 male, has been wanting to buy Barbies and a baby doll for the last few weeks. The daycare he goes to before and after school has these things, and he enjoys playing with them and wanted some of his own. I'm of the belief that there's nothing wrong with boys playing with stereotypically girly toys, just like there's nothing wrong with girls playing with stereotypically boy toys, such as Hot Wheels. I thought my husband, 43 male, and I were on the same page about this. But, by the way, this comes from Worrybird She, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia, and Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Daniel Ahearn. I'm a psychotherapist in Los Angeles. I work with attachment psychology. That's my focus. And I have a strong lean towards Buddhist psychology and how these things intertwine. I work a lot with adolescents, and I work in acute treatment with adolescents, so kids that are struggling. And then I work in private practice.
Thank you so much. And he's here to give some advice.
Not advice.
Not advice.
Some
We just
feedback.
talked about some feedback. And we're going to get into the story. Yesterday, we finally got the chance to get to the store so he could get what he wanted, and our little one was ecstatic. He used his own chore money to get a Barbie car when she was most excited about a boy Barbie and a girl Barbie. This was great, and I was very involved in helping him pick them out. Dad, however, was very much not, despite my trying to include him. He hung back, didn't engage at all, and when others came into the aisle, he would leave entirely. He was acting like he was embarrassed to be seen picking out these items. They're just dolls. On our way out of the store, I told him, people might not even assume right away that he's even buying them for himself. What if we were buying stuff for a little girl's birthday or something? I said this to try and figure out how he was feeling and where his head was at. He's very much someone who feels like people are watching and judging him at all times when he's out in public. He didn't really respond to the question, just got in and we went home. After the store, everything seemed fine. Dad was playing with our 5-year-old and his cars. Then our son brought the baby doll over and tried to engage my husband with it. Hubby pulled back from play and told him no, he didn't want to play, and playtime was over. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he just needed a break. Hubby has a very low playtime meter as it is and has admitted that his patience when it comes to our son is something he needs to work on. I assumed he'd reached his limit as far as playing in general went. Opie's giving him a lot of grace. She's like, maybe it could be this. That's fine. Children can be a lot. I totally get it. Then last night, I was getting our little one ready for bed, and because using the baby doll to get him down was working so well, show your baby how good you brush your teeth. We were on a roll. Dad came in for goodnight kisses, and our son usually doesn't let him leave unless he's gotten at least 3, so I was trying to help Dad by moving things along. I was like, okay, son, time for Dad to go. Show your baby doll how good you say goodnight to Daddy. And he did. Then Dad turned to leave and said, "Good night, son." Our son said, "Dad, say goodnight to my baby." And hubby paused and very firmly said, "Good night, son," and then left. Do you have a lot of parents that, or have you ever had this experience where the parents are like, we don't want, we have these very gender defined roles for
I think people
children?
struggle with it for sure. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing this story, right? I would say what a missed opportunity to show up and connect with your child and to help your child understand and explore the world. And I'm thinking about how the father must have such a fragile sense of his own masculinity.
Absolutely.
And what an epic bummer.
Yeah.
To miss this opportunity. And it's cool that maybe the family could talk about it and explore it and come to understand that if you're not supporting your child in discovering the world with them, they'll go to other people. You have a real precious opportunity to engage, not in the way that necessarily you always want to, but in helping the child explore and discover what has meaning to them.
Yeah.
So
Especially because he's a parent. So it's like,
Well,
you have this opportunity to be like, you have a baby, you're my baby.
Right, this is your
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Dog, get in the game.
Yeah.
So
No. I asked him after the fact, does his having Barbies and a baby doll bother you or something? Because you completely ignored him when he asked you to say goodnight to his baby, and you were completely unengaged at the store. He said, "It doesn't bother me, but I'm not going to interact with it." I said, "Well, you say goodnight to his other guys, stuffed animals and etc. Why is it different?" And he replied, actually, I don't say goodnight to stuffed animals anymore, which I'm not even sure is true because I witnessed him doing so in the last week. He chose today. He's like, I stopped tonight. That's it. Let me be honest with you, okay? This is him. I don't give a rat's rear end what my son plays with. If it's something he enjoys, then that's all I need to know. My son seems most interested in having little people he can drive around in a car. And with the baby, he says he gets to pretend to be daddy, which was so sweet. Oh.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying of like, he sees himself as like, oh, I get to be daddy with the baby and dad,
Right. He's acting like a caregiver, and to have that so rebuked by his father is such a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. I honestly thought my husband was of the same mind. So I'm blown away a little by this attitude because gender norms and our beliefs surrounding them are something we've talked about prior to having kids. Am I crazy for feeling like this is a weird thing to be playing perfectly fine with your child when it's cars, and then the second the baby doll comes out, you disengage entirely? For context, we've been together for 10 years, and as stated, this is something we've talked about before we had a child. And there are some comments, but do you have any more thoughts about this?
I mean, I think it's just kind of what we said. Like, I would be so curious. Like, again, trying to view this as a psychotherapist, I'd be really curious about this father's sense of gender and masculinity and why he feels so threatened.
And what his
childhood
father
was like.
and his child. Yeah.
I mean, these things are in turn transgenerational, but really also just when your son or your daughter is bidding for a connection, meet that connection. To rebuke it and shut it down, the message isn't that dolls are bad, but connecting is bad.
Absolutely. And it seems also like OP kind of mentioned briefly that he was already having trouble connecting with his son.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so I feel like
that's so painful.
It's even further creating this this divide.
I mean, it sucks.
Yeah.
Totally sucks.
Not great. Yeah, so my advice for this dad is like, maybe we should connect let's focus not on the baby doll and whether or not it's gendered, but like, let's focus on spending time with your son.
Yeah, for sure.
But there are some comments. Comment 1 says, I'd be more long-term worried that your husband isn't prepared to unconditionally love your child, no matter what choices he makes. Trying to control what he plays with by designating them as appropriate for his gender is just the tip of the iceberg. You may have talked about it, but either he may have told you what you wanted to hear, or he was overconfident that it wouldn't happen to him. Comment 2 says, yeah, that's super weird. Your husband acting like touching a Barbie will revoke his man card or something. Your kid's just playing and learning how to nurture, literally pretending to be a dad. That's awesome, not something to shut down. He really needs to unpack why a doll makes him so uncomfortable, because that's his issue, not your son's. Comment 3 says, you're not crazy at all. Your husband's reaction is definitely rooted in outdated gender norms, and it's okay to feel weird about that. Your son wanting a doll and Barbies is completely normal. It shows empathy, imagination, and creativity. The fact that he said he gets to pretend to be daddy is actually really sweet and shows healthy emotional development. And OP responds, this also shows that the kid looks up to his dad so much so that he sees him as a role model and wants to emulate him. Imitation is the highest form of flattery and all that. The dad should be touched that his son sees him in a nurturing and loving manner. I actually don't think this is from OP, but responding to OP. So OP's husband needs to knock off his behavior and start showing acceptance so his son can emulate only good traits. And comment 4 says, I'm going to go a step further than some of the other commenters. I think your son, playing family with his dolls and trying to engage his dad with them, is modeling behavior he wants to see and is not seeing. Ooh.
Deep.
It's like, Dad, I just want your love.
I want
Look
connection.
at me loving this baby.
Totally.
Yeah. Tell his dad to put that in his pipe and smoke it. There's nothing girly about his emphasis on being the daddy and enjoying driving the dolls around. That sounds boyish to me. Also sounds nurturing and helpful, which should be gender neutral. If I were in your shoes, I'd get him some male action figures too, to see if that helps keep the peace while Hubs gets counseling. The fact is, no amount of disapproval from Hubs or anyone else will force a gay or trans kid to magically become otherwise. It'll just damage that kid. People are born that way. And there is an update, but I feel like a lot of those commenters were touching on what we said.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the update?
Oh, well, we're going to get into
We'll
it.
get into it. Okay, got you.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, what will happen next?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if we're talking about this as a psychotherapist and
Yeah.
the family was here, there would be a lot that we could explore between the husband and the wife and the relationship with the child and who wanted a child and what does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to have a son? All of these things. But it seems like a very reactive and a very strong
Yes.
response.
And I am somewhat confused about, because OP said multiple times that he agreed.
Yeah, I'd be curious what that means.
Yeah, so like I'm wondering what exactly he thought he was agreeing to.
Right. What does agreement mean?
Yeah. And if, like that one commenter said, if he just didn't think it would happen to him. But yeah, you can't really control what kids want to play with. They just kind of point at things.
You can, right?
Yes, forcefully.
You can really restrict their exploration, and that can affect the way they discover meaning, and it can affect the way they choose relationships, and then ultimately it affects their interest in coming back to the parents and sharing their life. So, I mean, go for it, bro. But in the end, all you're doing is really damaging that child's relationship to himself.
Yeah.
And then relationship with the world.
And I'm also wondering, because I grew up with a brother, as we were talking about, and I mean, I did play with a lot of like dolls and Littlest Pet Shops and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But my brother also had like Legos and cars and dinosaurs and stuff, so I was also playing with those things.
You were just playing.
Yeah, I was just playing. And
just
so
playing.
I'm kind of wondering if they have another child and that child is a girl, are
if she
the
goes
kids
for the
not allowed to
cars?
play with each other?
Right.
Yeah, just wondering about that. But there is an update,
Okay, here we go.
which now we'll get into.
Okay.
My husband and I spoke some more this morning as I noticed him doing it again. Our son asking him to play with his new toys and my husband ignoring him completely. I asked him to step into our room for a bit so we could have the conversation away from our son. I started by asking him what specifically he doesn't like about playing with the toys our son purchased yesterday. He said that he wanted to make sure that our son bought them because he wanted to and not because it's making other people happy. Feels a little hypocritical.
This is weird.
Yeah. Basically, he insinuated that myself or some other outside influence convinced him that he wanted the toys when he might not have otherwise. This is not the case. I told him if our son didn't want the toys, then he wouldn't have been asking for them for the last 3 weeks. Our son is very strong-willed and knows what he does and does not like, and very rarely does things just because it would make someone else happy. He's 5.
Cool.
I reminded him of all of this. And I gotta remind you guys that you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts on this story?
I mean, I like this kid.
Yeah, he knows what I feel like
I'm really into
he's
this
stubborn
kid,
like
you know?
his dad.
Yeah, I mean, he's also like, you know, he's standing on his business. Like, he knows what he wants. He's going to keep going. I think
Absolutely.
that's rad.
And I feel like when you're like, I've babysat a lot of kids, so I kind of know like kids from that end of the thing. And I feel like at 5 years old, you know a little bit about who, you know, what you like.
Yes, of course.
And you're, you know, pretty strong-willed at 5.
I mean, can I share something? So from the attachment perspective, the language we use is an internal working model. And your internal working model is developed between the ages of 0 to 3. And then in late childhood, 3 to 5, actually up until adolescence, is when that internal model starts to meet with the world. And you're somewhat baked in. So when you're dealing with a 5-year-old, they're responding to the matrix of care they receive 0 to 3. And the parents are actually seeing, oh, this is the care I gave. This is what I'm getting back. So they're often reflective of one another.
So it's really interesting that their parenting.
100%.
He's like, what caused this? It's like, you guys.
Might have been you guys.
Yeah, like good job.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
right.
You did something good.
You built confidence.
Mm-hmm. In the end, he admitted that this is something he needs to work on some more and find a middle ground, engaging even though dolls and Barbies are not something he enjoys playing with. I reminded him that he's an adult and that play is intended to cater to the child for a reason.
Yeah, beautiful.
I like that. She's like, it's not really about whether or not you want to play.
No.
For now, that's all the update I've got, but I did touch on the fact that if his stonewalling continued, then we would have to figure out a different living situation because it wasn't healthy for our son to be continually subjected to that. He indicated that he understood that and as of right now is playing Barbies with our son. Yay!
Cool.
Our son made him be the girl Barbie. But at least it's better than it was. And our son is feeling that connection again, which is what really matters. I love that. I don't think the son did that intentionally at all.
That's
but
cool.
I do think that
it worked out.
Good. Yeah.
That's so rad.
Yeah. Forcing the dad to, you know, step outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm so curious what the dad's experience became, what he learned about himself.
Yeah, because I think that it can be really positive. I think I always loved, I think from just like an acting improv standpoint, I loved growing up building those worlds. And I still, when I babysat kids, I still loved creating those worlds with them. So I think when you really allow yourself to just be free and enjoy that play,
that's right.
It's really fun.
Totally. Kids live in a state of radical amazement. And it's so fun to participate in that.
Absolutely.
It can be really liberating. Absolutely.
But that was the end of that story. Yeah, but we have some questions from our OK fam.
Okay.
Marnus says, I, 35 male, grew up with a very strict father, and it's made me constantly afraid of doing something wrong. Now that I'm starting a new job, that fear shows up all the time. I overthink everything and feel like I'm too slow or disappointing people. I've tried exercising and doing things I enjoy, but when it's time to focus on important tasks like work, I zone out and start feeling like I'm doing everything wrong. I end up distracting myself instead of finishing what needs to be done. Please help me. I can't afford professional help right now. My question is, how can I stop feeling this way and finally trust myself more? And do you have any? Yeah. And if you need to read it again.
No. It's okay. I was really, I'm really thinking about that.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, this is a good example of an attachment response, right? If in early childhood, we learn that love and attention is performance driven, right? It's conditional. If I do this, I'll receive love, I'll receive attention. We internalize that. And then later in life, in our relationships or in our work, we can start to view things that happen as threats to our sense of self, threats to our success, and it can shut us down. Right? We can have different responses. We can flee or fight or fawn, or we can kind of use any of the F words to deal with that stress, right?
Yeah.
So what I would not advise, but I would consider is for this person to really take a pause before anything that you're doing at work or maybe after and evaluate, am I responding from the present moment or am I responding to this old story that if I do something wrong, I'll be rebuked or abandoned? And then after you do any task, really acknowledge out loud, like, oh, I did this thing, and celebrate your accomplishments. Moreover, I would find people that you trust, maybe colleagues or friends, to talk about that. Like, hey, I really struggle with feeling that if I don't do this right, I'm going to fail, and I don't even know where that feeling comes from, or maybe it comes from childhood. By just externalizing that and building relationships with people, the term we use is co-regulate. When you and I met a little while ago, we didn't know each other, and then we kind of got in a groove, right? And we started to have this experience of being in harmony together. It's one of the human being's superpowers. So if you can take that stress and find a way to tap into your friends or colleagues and share it and co-regulate it, I think you're going to be okay. And I think also it's really beautiful that you reached out, because that is an indication of your willingness to grow.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like he does this for a
Like
living.
this is your job. Nina Nilsson says, me and my best friend, both 29 female, of 16 years, are basically codependent. I'm there almost every day helping her with her son, my godson, around 7. Or we're in group activities together or with her family. I spend Christmas there and everything, and I have a hard time feeling like I deserve a space in a group due to having to fight for my spot in my family's growing up. My parents aren't together, and I had evil step-parents on both sides. My best friend is dating someone new, and while we have no romantic feelings, her being in a relationship does change things. Things such as who does what in all of our lives, but especially my godson's life. I go to parent-teacher conferences and doctor's appointments and everything where I can be helpful, or if he or his parents want me to go. His father has 50-50 custody, and they co-parent very well, and we are all close friends. I am terrified of no longer having the space in my godson's family and being replaced by someone new. I worry that a new partner would dislike how active in their everyday life I am, and if I would even be able to speak my opinion on what I think regarding my godson. Because as much as we all joke that he's my child too, he isn't. Not legally and not as any kind of parent. Even step-parents would be. It's not rational thinking I would lose this family I found, but my parents have both chosen new people over me. They even sat quietly while I was thrown out because the step-parent demanded more in rent than I could possibly pay them. I was 18, but both parents were still legally responsible for my cost of living. My best friend came to pick me up, and I lived there for a bit while our mothers talked and sorted things out as they were becoming friends thanks to us. My friend and I are very open with communicating, and their new date seems like a really good person. I've met them once so far, and I wish I could stop having this extreme reaction when I truly am happy for them And the more people that love and care for my godson, the better. My question is, how can someone work on whatever this is? Codependence, anxious attachment. I am in talk therapy, mostly just as a check-in while waiting for the psychiatrist to have time with me, twice a month. But I realize this needs more work than that so that I don't ruin my friendships now or in the future. Thank you for taking the time for us and OK fam. Good job.
Oh man, it's like I can feel that so much and so deeply, and without knowing too much more, just knowing what we know, it does sound like an anxious attachment response. Even in the quantity of information, right, that we're getting, I want you to understand exactly what I'm saying. I need to tell you all this information. And what's so interesting about attachment, I think Carly and I were talking about neuroscience, is in early childhood, going back to that internal working model, the brain develops a certain way. So when we start to feel that anxiety and we're sharing a lot of information, it's a sign that we're actually in duress, right? We feel like if I don't share everything with you, you're going to leave me. And then this person so clearly explained that feeling of being left. What I would do about it, I guess the other thing I'm curious about is in talk therapy, do you notice that talk therapy helps, or do you leave feeling actually more spun out, right? Because sometimes talking won't really help.
If you have this,
if you have so much anxiety,
you're
just kind of caught in this experience of sharing and sharing and sharing. And the language that we use is like there's a self and there's an other. And when I lose myself with my anxiety, I collapse into other. And it's so painful because I can't find the me in it. What I would advise, I'm choosing my words carefully, is to pause and actually notice how valuable you are and check the evidence. To offer yourself a lot of compassion. Sounds like you've been through a lot in early childhood. Understand that you do have a good friendship and you are so invaluable to this godson, and find a way to pause and reflect. Notice that you're okay in this moment. You can actually kind of visualize the person that you want to be now, rather than feeling trapped by the version you have of this older version of yourself. And don't be afraid to go out and explore other relationships. I mean, you found one, you sound like a rad person. I'm sure the more you go out and explore, the more you can kind of strengthen your social network and help yourself feel okay. But this is such a good example of how that anxiety can feel so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you can collapse.
Yeah. Another great answer.
Is that a good answer?
No, absolutely.
Amazing answer. A lot of people are saying we're being seen right now. Caitlin literally just said, he's going to make me cry at the gym.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
And I think when
painful.
You have that like one very close friendship that you're codependent on, I think it can be like hard to
oh my God.
see that sense of self.
It's so terrorizing.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's like, what if I lose this person?
I'm going to end. And that's a really young part, right? That's that 0 to 3 part. So always, oh my God, always so much compassion for yourself. A big thing about attachment, it's bandied around a lot. People throw the language around, I'm anxious or I'm dismissive, but these are strategies to survive.
Yeah.
Like you needed to develop them to survive, to make it through childhood. And it's so cool that we live in a time now where you can repair those and make improvements, but it sounds like you're well on your way.
And we have a third question. I think this might be the final question from Caitlin Von Kampen, who also might be here. Caitlin says, after being in a relationship for 4 years with a self-absorbed person and not wanting to fall victim to that again, what are the biggest red flags to look out for in a partner? So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's not quite focused on child development.
This is when I hear red flags, the thing we're talking about dating, Caitlin. Okay, here's some dating feedback. When you go on a date, this is for literally everyone on earth. Don't worry about if they like you. Take that off the menu. Really focus in your body. Do I feel safe around this person? Do I feel like I can be myself around this person? So much of our culture puts the pressure on getting people to like you and click the like button and appreciate you that you lose yourself. And then you find yourself vulnerable to people that have narcissistic tendencies. Don't paint red flags white. The body is an incredible somatic instrument. It's really wise. Yeah. And if you can find your breath, in your gut, right? The vagus nerve, we could talk about all this wild stuff. Yeah. But if you just pause and breathe and notice, like, do I feel safe? Is this something I want to keep pursuing? I think you'll be on good footing.
I think I saw this thing about like when you feel very connected to your partner, you're more likely to like feel sleepy. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Oh, relax?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you talk about like being comfortable with someone.
I think
no longer feel that like anxiety response. It's like a safety mechanism from,
I mean, there's a couple ways to look at this, really. Like, some of us, if we're so overwhelmed, we just like nod out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
If
so I guess there's the opposite. Yeah.
Right, you can fawn. But there is that experience of like, oh my God, I feel so safe with you. Like, I just want to I finally feel like I can rest.
Yeah.
What a beautiful experience.
My 26 female mother, 59 female, won't stop asking about who I'm texting, what I'm doing, or if I have certain social media when I'm on my phone. Question, how can I establish the boundary that it's my business about what I'm doing on my phone and not hers without being rude?
I mean, wild, right?
Yeah.
I think the idea for parents is to really be available to, actually, let me say it this way. It's our responsibility to hold our boundaries, and that can be hard. But one cool thing about attachment is it's highly collaborative, and we develop what's called metacognition, which is insight. So the way that would work in this relationship is like, hey, Mom, I'm noticing that you're asking me a lot of questions about my phone, and I'm wondering what's going on. And really try and put yourself in her position and let her see that you're thinking about that. And it might wake her up to like, oh my God, that's so whack. What am I doing? It may not. You have an opportunity to have your boundaries, and this is for everyone. It's my responsibility to hold my boundaries. It's not as important to me that you like my boundaries.
Yeah.
You don't have to. They're my boundaries. And if I can have coherent boundaries for myself that feel safe and protected and supported, then I can see the kind of world that I want to engage in. Kind of going back to the dating thing, right?
Yeah.
I have to find meaning and set boundaries in my own life. And if people don't want to hang out for it, you know what I mean?
Bye.
It's like,
yeah.
And this goes for a mom. I mean, like you're in a relationship with your mother, it will persevere, but you're allowed to adjust that.
Yeah.
And I imagine, although it wasn't stated, that this misattunement between the mother and the child started a long time ago. And this is the latest example of it. I don't think this is like totally new behavior.
Like fall into patterns.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you're allowed to establish a sense of privacy and boundaries. And it's actually appropriate.
I feel like, I mean, with my parents even, to a certain extent, there's, when you're like a parent, I'm just assuming, never being.
I'm a parent.
Yeah. You have to kind of, there is less privacy when you have a minor child.
Yeah, you have to be involved.
Yeah, you have to be involved to keep them safe. And then when they become an adult, it's like there's that transition period where you're like, oh, I actually can't know everything about your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a beautiful experience. And, parents can have grief around that. Like, oh, my child's not a child. And that's cool, but like deal with your grief. Like part of the beauty of parenting is this ongoing process of loving someone so much and then letting them be in the world and let them be free and to support that. So, and I think parents can fall into patterns, and it's totally acceptable to be like, yo, what are you doing, Mom?
Yeah, let's put a pause on that.
Yeah.
But those are all the questions. Thank you so much for answering.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm sure I think they've been saying they appreciate how much.
You've hit some like real chords for some people who are like, just like I wasn't even. They didn't even submit questions, but wow, they are wowed right now. So
cool.
Thank you so much. For
I think a lot of those questions
those
people are able to relate with.
Yeah,
they're
relatable. They're boundary issues. There's stuff about how we relate to. This is the thing in attachment. It's about the development of a relationship to myself and the world. So relationships and exploration, and those are things we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we have another story that we're getting into.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah. I'm scared to let my 18-year-old daughter have her freedom.
Whoa. I mean, this is kind of the opposite of the mom getting on the phone.
Trigger warning, emotional abuse. I am a 49-year-old mother with an 18-year-old daughter in community college. I am also very introverted and a little anxious. I understand my daughter needs a social life, but I just don't feel right about it. By the way, this comes from Worry Bird She, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And OP says, this year she started going out with more friends. She was sad that she wasted her teen years in her room, but she was safe that way. She downloaded Life 360 for me. Wow. And bought pepper spray, and her phone is always on. That is interesting to me, having been a teenager. My parents never did that, but I'm wondering if that is coming from her mom's anxieties.
This is interesting, right? Yeah, I mean, our nervous systems mirror each other. So going back to the Barbie daddy.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're sort of noticing that shut downness and cut offness, you may start to see that in your child.
Yeah.
Either in concert, exactly the same, or the exact opposite.
Yes.
So this
someone who like rebels versus
Yeah,
this
or
is someone who falls in line.
Thinking about that anxiety, if I'm not allowed to experiment and explore and fall down and pick myself up and develop a sense of self-mastery or autonomy, I'm going to be frightened of the world. And being frightened in the world is not a skillful way to engage, because you tend to find yourself in harming conditions, for sure.
She's usually at the mall or downtown exploring with friends. I just don't like that I don't know what she's doing or who she's with. I believe it's much better to stay at home so there's no risk of anything bad happening to anyone. Sometimes she's annoyed about it. She has a 10 p.m. curfew. Midnight is much too late. She says she feels stifled and sheltered, but I'm just trying to keep her safe. She gives me weird looks when I tell her that going out a lot isn't a good thing. Am I being irrational? And I'm sure the relevant comments will have a lot to say about this. But before we jump into them,
Irrational?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure if we really talk to this person, there's a very rational, understandable, historic reason of why she feels this way. Is it the optimal way to build trust and safety in your child? I think this person knows no. And I'm sure it's really painful for this person to see like, this isn't working. And it's really painful for me, and it's really painful for my child. And I mean, all of that is so hard.
Yeah. Right? And it also feels like the daughter is kind of unlearning because, I mean, OP said like she downloaded Life 360 and was very cautious.
Right.
But now at 18 is trying to unlearn those kind of fear responses.
Yeah, trying to evolve, right? Isn't that what we want? We want to continue evolution and keep going.
Personal Poet says, let your daughter live. And OP responds, she's smart but too trusting of people. I'm scared she'll get into a bad situation. I'm a single mother and I can't have the stress of her possibly getting unalived or worse. Home is safer. And comment 2 says, it's normal and healthy for your daughter to go out. She's learning to build bonds with people, exploring our beautiful world and connecting with her community. The skills she's developing will help her professionally if she moves to a new place and when she finds a life partner who will have their own family and friends who will also be in her life. What about yourself? Do you have enough strong friendships? And do you take enough time to explore all that's going on locally? OP responds, I'm just scared she'll do something stupid. Part of the reason why she's going out is because she complained her senior year that her peers babied her because she was sheltered. She also felt bad about not hanging out with friends much when she wasn't busy with jobs and adulthood. What if she drinks to try and fit in? She never got much male attention. What if she sleeps with a man just to feel affection and ends up pregnant? I'm very introverted and quite the homebody, so I only talk to people at work and church. I guess I'm too old for friendships, lol. Museums, sport events, and the like don't really interest me. I just shop, work, and sleep. And there's more comments, but I do kind of want to discuss just that comment from OP. Because, I mean, just from my thoughts on that, I feel like she might do all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think that you can only, as a parent, give your advice and prepare them as best as you can, and then you have to let them do it.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you let them be free in the world, and then you trust that the relationship that you built will bring them back to share it.
Prepares it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. And maybe what I'm feeling into this is that a parent feels like, oh, I didn't do a good job, and that's really what's freaking me out.
Yeah.
So trying to control that outcome, but
can't really control.
You gotta live. Yeah, you gotta trust.
I also, like, as much as this is about the mother-daughter relationship, I think it's also about OP feeling like she can't explore anything anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because she said, I'm too old for friendships, which I don't think anyone is ever too old to find new friendships.
Yeah. So there's that fear of letting go of it sounds like
just
there's some enmeshment too, like the child is not your friend.
Yeah.
It's your child.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like she's relying on her daughter.
Yeah, I think that's, it's unfair.
Yeah, and maybe some of that anxious attachment of being like, if my daughter leaves, who else do I have?
So yeah, with the anxious attachment, right? If you're so focused on self, then you're not being an authentic person, and then you actually don't see the person.
Exactly.
Because you're constantly lost in this projection that you're trying to control to reduce that fear of abandonment.
Absolutely.
All painful.
Yeah. Comment 3 says, coming from parents who had me on a short leash in high school, the more you push your fear on her, the more likely she will be to engage in risky behavior. Trust your daughter. She has friends who will look out for her. She has pepper spray, and she has your number. She's got that pepper spray. The best thing you can do is be there for her and say that if anything happens, you're only a call away. And there is an update, and we're going to jump into that one so you don't have to wait.
Okay, let's get into it.
How do you handle your kids not liking you when it's your fault? says OP. My heart broke today, but it's much deserved. My 18-year-old daughter has slowly stopped sharing things with me. She's scared to talk to me. I'm short-tempered and I often lecture her out of love, but she once said half of our conversations is me just talking at her. She acts a bit like a know-it-all sometimes. She once said I tell her she's too naive, yet I gave her a 10 p.m. curfew. I get pissy when she hangs out with her friends and didn't let her walk outside her neighborhood until she was 16. I'm just trying to keep her safe. One thing I do understand is that I made her incapable of handling confrontation. She was sassy as a kid, but as she grew older, I wondered why she couldn't stand up for herself. Then I remembered how much I blew up at her or was sarcastic with her without allowing her to get angry at me back. She had OCD. We both recognized the symptoms, and she begged for therapy, but I let my denial get the best of me until her junior year of high school. I apologized for it this year, but I'm not sure if she truly forgives me. And again, this is obviously can't diagnose, but I'm wondering if maybe OP
About the OCD?
has OCD.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to diagnose. I don't want to do that. But I
Yeah.
would say that this refrain of like, I was trying to keep her safe, I was trying
Yeah.
to keep her safe, I don't think is the whole story. You're trying to control the outcome. That's not safety,
No.
right? And you're trying to be controlling. That's not safety. You have to let people live and discover meaning. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts that we could share another time about OCD from the attachment perspective. But fundamentally, if I could share this, I think this would be helpful. Rupture is expected in relationships, in any kind of relationship, especially parental relationships, especially with teenagers. Repair is optional and so beautiful. For this person to recognize, oh, my kid is so sick of me, you're allowed to voice that. Say, hey, you know what? I think I was really unskillful and controlling, and I don't want to be that way. And to model the fact to a teen or someone younger that you can make a mistake as an adult and then change your ways changes their version of the world, right? So don't be afraid to take accountability and to share that. Showing vulnerability actually builds strength in relationships and will help your kid a lot.
And Opie hasn't mentioned a father in the, or like a husband or
Right,
anything.
seems a little absent.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this is, I think, I have a friend who has, her mom is a single mother, and I think, and often has a very contentious relationship because you're the only people.
Only one there.
Yeah, you're the only ones in that house.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that could be playing into this of like, they're the only people that have.
Yeah, and then
You
there's
know.
like parentification and
Mhm.
spouseification. A lot of things
Yeah.
can happen when you're relying too much on this younger person, and that's tough.
Today, she told me she wants to go down to a uni down in Georgia when she's done with community college. I have a sinking feeling it's to do with me. I'm offended. I do a lot for her, but I understand. Moms, how do you deal with this if it's your fault your kids don't like you? And there are some relevant comments. Ducky's mama says you're offended that the daughter you talked down to and denied mental health treatment wants to move as far away as possible. This right here tells me you don't want to work on yourself. You just want to make her magically appreciate and love you. If you want to fix this, you need to fix your actions. Yeah, this is the Reddit comments.
Good.
Yeah, they'll tell you how they feel. Listen to her without butting in how wrong she is. Apologize again for the lack of treatment and mean it. Tell her you support her wherever she wants to go for college. Stop blowing up and start being supportive. And if that's difficult, get into therapy. It's going to take years and a lot of work to fix this relationship. Redditor 4 says, thank you. My father is very similar to OP, and to this day, it's all about how much he's done for me. As if providing material necessities can somehow absolve them of the very real consequences of their actions. And OP responds, you're right. I guess offended was the wrong word. I know I did wrong and it hurts she's upset, but I acknowledge and understand why she feels the way she does. I let my pride and control get the best of me. I'll look into going into therapy. And OP also responds to a deleted comment. I am an immigrant, hence why I seem foreign, quote unquote. My child was born here in the US. And another editor says, the long-winded lectures are just you punishing her. Turn a 15-second issue into a 30-minute punishment talk where you release your anger on her and feel vindicated for setting things right, but you're just a bully and an a-hole. OP says, I guess it makes sense why she got mad when I'd lecture her. I was raised in a way where children must listen to when adults talk to them. And to get upset is this know-it-all behavior. Granted, I didn't always correct her in the nicest way. For example, it's important to save your money versus my usual, if I spent money like you, I'd be homeless. I need to work on my communication. Another Redditor says, this comment is so very telling. You don't get it. Even with all of the personal experiences being shared about others who live with a parent like you think that working on communication is going to do anything. This has nothing to do with communication. Simple question, yes or no. Do you want to be involved with any grandchildren's lives? If yes, go to therapy. It's that simple. Another Redditor says, why does your adult child have a curfew? Honestly, I kind of disagree with that comment because my parents, personally for me, I had when I was living in their house.
Yeah, their house, their rules kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I see that one. I don't think it's as cut and dry for that. OP says, we live in a very safe area, but you can never be too sure of who or what's out there. Another person says, she's an adult. I'm curious, what would have been the consequences if she missed her curfew? OP says, I wouldn't be happy, and I'd probably not let her go out the next time her friends invite her out. She's an adult, but a very young one, and she still lives under my roof, so she should respect the rules. And there is an update, but there were a lot of comments that we just got there, so do you have any thoughts on any of those?
No, I'm just listening, really. I mean, I think, well, we don't know. We're not in this family system, so we're kind of hearing, and we all have different ideas. It just sounds really hard.
Yeah.
And I think what we're hearing and the context of the control is the tip of the iceberg. And I'd be so curious how it started. And it sounds like it's so painful for everyone in this family system.
Yeah. And I mean, like, again, like OP says she was an immigrant. Don't have more knowledge than that. But I think sometimes we read stories
Culture's
where you
powerful.
have like a child who
Yeah.
has to take on the role as translator
Yeah, that's
or
right.
as just like cultural,
Yeah.
you know, and so that kind of goes into parentification. And there was, I think, going back to like the beginning comments where they were talking about her moving away for school and OP being,
Having a hard time.
having a hard time with that and thinking that it was kind of against her.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times space can help those
A relationship?
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've been so enmeshed.
Totally. So pressurized for
Mhm.
sure.
So
Absolutely.
it's like maybe you can actually rebuild your relationship if she goes away.
Well, you might understand it with some distance. And yeah, to your point, I mean, culture is very powerful.
Yeah.
We don't know the culture from which this is arising, and we're viewing it from our culture. And, you know, the
Yeah.
privilege of just like reading a little bit and having an opinion. We don't know. But I mean, ultimately, it's pretty clear there's a lot of care here
Yes.
and a desire to understand and do better.
Yeah, and I do think the comments are being somewhat harsh because I think it's clear that OP is looking for
Sure.
advice and it does want to improve, just doesn't quite know how.
Yeah, and I also imagine that it's hard for people to hear about someone being so controlling.
Yes.
Because that's really activating for us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us can relate to people trying to be controlling and
And having hard relationships with parents. I think that, like,
100%,
to an
yeah.
extent, everyone has
yeah,
like arguments and stuff with parents and stuff.
again, conflict, rupture, definite repair is really the beautiful opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is an update.
I was
Here we
going
go.
to say,
Yes.
I can 100% relate to, not OP, but I guess OP's child because my mom was an immigrant
Oh,
and the way she was raised was very harsh. Like,
right.
curfew, I need to
Right.
know where you're going. Oh,
Yeah.
you're going out with your friends. Even if you're 1 minute late, you're grounded or like
Right.
you're in trouble kind of thing. It was very, very intense because I would compare, just like Whitney, very intense right there, but I would compare and contrast my, relationship with my mom to
Right.
my friends' relationships who their parents were white.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, what? They would
Yeah.
scratch their head kind of thing. So hearing this is very crazy coming
Yeah.
from
Sure.
a parent like this, where like I'm an immigrant and this is how I was raised, and I'm gonna do this to my child, kind of thing. So
And
I-
maybe also her relationship with mental health and like therapy
And culture, yeah.
and with culture and stuff
Right.
and how that, because she says she didn't believe it and she denied it.
yeah,
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
In noticing that in this moment, how is your relationship to those boundaries as you've gotten older changed? Do they?
so like my mom and I are so cool now.
Uh-huh.
But again, it was just I think once she realized I could take care of myself,
Right.
once I'm an adult,
That's
it was
right.
Just, it wasn't like a instant, but it was a very quick, gradual transition from
That's
like
cool.
parent to like now we're
Yeah.
Yeah.
we understand each other.
Yeah, you're a man in
way.
the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So, and I think it was also kind of seeing it how, because she was talking to the other parents and they were like, oh no, this is okay. Like,
Right.
we do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and she's like, I don't know, is that okay? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
why are you asking me? I'm not the parent kind of
Right.
thing when I was a teenager or, a 13-year-old saying, Mom, my
Yeah.
friends can do this or
Yeah.
my friends can do that. And
Right.
she said, no. And then it changed over time, but it was I think it was like a culture shock or,
Yeah.
for her. So,
Mhm.
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Culture is powerful.
But we're going to get into this update. So OP asks to start, why are my daughters so different, yet they were raised the same way? Oh, I have 2 daughters. This is
Here we go.
This is new information. 118, 128. They both were goody two shoes as kids and both were raised by me. Both live at home and both grew up religious. Both were also major people pleasers and aren't mentally ill as far as I know. Is this the same? Because didn't we find out that she had OCD? Yet the younger doesn't really talk to me. She's a bit more wild. She goes out with friends often, wore a fake nose piercing a bit, and isn't Christian anymore. She gets more and more assertive and confident the older she gets. The older texts and calls me all the time. She still asks me for permission for things. If she's not working, she has a career. She usually stays in her room laying down. She's introverted and complacent. Why is this? Yeah, so it seems like this is still the same.
Plot thickens.
Yeah. So we have 2 kids that I guess had very different responses to that upbringing, which is kind of what you're saying of like falling into that anxiety or like rebelling against it. Yeah. Throw the Dough says, having read your many other posts where even you admit how awful you were to her, I can't be surprised in the slightest. You clearly resent her being different than you, whereas your older seems more like you. Or you've browbeaten her enough to be complacent. But wow, shocking. 2 humans are different than each other. Also wild for wanting to have friends and not sit at home being yelled at and lectured by her mom for wanting to not be sheltered or starved from the world. I'm beginning to think you're either trolling or really, really obtuse. I truly feel so sorry for both of your children. OP says, I don't resent her. I'm just kind of laughing about how they were both so similar in their youth, but are now 2 different people. And yes, I need to work on the damage I caused to her. My oldest daughter even agrees that the youngest is trying too hard to be like her peers by going out and such. She's not in danger, but part of me wishes she was still the quiet kid she was pre the vid. At least she's learning to speak up for herself. Throw the Dough says, you're not laughing. You're actively still trying to make her this complacent, scared of the world, stay-at-home person. You very clearly expressed how much you resent her and actively try to keep her home because God forbid she makes friends. And yes, it's clear you wish she was still the person she was before she finally pushed back. Also, actively denying her help for her OCD is a monster move to then also say no mental illness, but not surprising because of the way you treated it. I truly hope she does escape for college and learn that this is so far from normal. Your parents should love you and support you and want you to be an adult with friends and a life of your own. A parent shouldn't browbeat you into complacency and make you fear leaving the house. But I'm not afraid of listening to full episodes of stories just like this, and neither should you be, because you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit more, but yeah, we've got some commenters who are clearly feeling...
They're feeling this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's activated for them.
Yes, absolutely. Somewhat relatable to them, it seems. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've seen necessarily exactly what they're seeing from this comment or from this OP.
What's your take?
It feels like OP hasn't necessarily said like you can't leave, you're not
seems,
allowed.
yeah,
It just
right.
seems
Hard,
cautious
yeah.
and yeah, maybe
Painful.
Yeah.
Confusing, maybe. Don't know what to do.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that she's coming on here and asking for, and also the person who was like, you're a troll. I've seen so many, I mean, like even to an extent, my mom was scared and cautious about my brother and I and stuff. So,
which is also appropriate.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're paying attention, the world is terrifying.
Yes, especially now.
Right.
Especially,
Especially
for
now.
kids being in school with like violence happening in school and stuff.
That's right.
I think it's fair to be
Right.
cautious.
Yeah.
Especially, maybe OP, again, coming from as an immigrant and seeing this violence if she's in the U.S. I think that's very fair. And I think it's a little bit harsh to be like, why would you ever do this?
Right. Well,
or say this?
Understanding's important.
Yeah.
We're just trying to understand.
Mm-hmm. And I think like offering OP that understanding while also saying this is maybe not the right way to go about it.
Which I think OP knows.
Yes,
right?
exactly. OP's coming on here to say that.
Like,
I don't
hey,
know
it's
everything.
not working out and it's really hard and I don't understand it and there's a cultural gap and
Yeah.
I want to do right by my kids and they're having different experiences.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's pretty brave.
Yeah. I don't know. I think OP is at least on the right track.
Yeah.
Still has a lot left to learn, clearly.
We're all learning together.
And I think that, we have a lot of stories where people go no contact and stuff with their parents or family members.
Yeah.
And I think this is behavior that you kind of get very clear consequences with. It's like either you change and you get that relationship with your daughter, or you don't change and you lose her.
Yeah, what a waste to miss that opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
And I guess, again, going back to that, I did it wrong. Like, you can talk about that.
Yeah.
You can find a way to voice that and build that relationship stronger, right?
I think being honest.
As a kid gets older, they come to a deeper understanding of like, oh, maybe this is where they were coming from. It sounds like everyone in this family system could benefit from more life experience.
Absolutely.
And then come back and kind of share what's happening with them.
Yeah, I think we've all been there too. When you think when you're like a teenager, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
Oh my
or you're
goodness.
Like, So back then you were like, oh my gosh, like this is ridiculous.
Right.
Like I know better than this.
Yeah.
And then you dwell back on it and you're like, oh man, you know, it's real.
Yeah.
It's kind
Totally.
of
And it's funny from my perspective, like Sam and I had very different experiences because my parents were strict, but Sam was he was much more adventurous.
Sure.
Growing up, like he would climb buildings and like, you know, get into trouble in those ways and stuff. And I was very much like, I hung out with my friends and I didn't go to parties. I was like, I kind of imposed regulations for myself.
Self-audited.
Yeah.
Is that true? Did you feel like when you were younger you could go climb buildings but you didn't want to, or what was it?
I don't know, but my mom was very adamant about don't climb the buildings.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't. I don't think that she would have prevented me from going to parties or anything.
Okay. But you just wasn't who you were.
It just wasn't, it wasn't who I was. And I think Sam had a little bit maybe more, you know, don't do this because he was doing more stuff.
Oh,
whereas I wasn't really doing anything. So I didn't
you're
have
like, good,
those.
I don't need that advice. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think as I've, you know, become more independent and moved out and stuff, it's finding that, you know, I've been doing more, like I host more I don't climb buildings. But
okay, I was going to say
you
you climbing buildings.
I've been climbing buildings now. Yeah.
Goals.
But I think what you were kind of saying about them not having a lot of life experience, I think it's interesting because you have a 18-year-old, 30-something-year-old, or 28-year-old, something like that.
Yes.
And then 49 something, somewhere along those lines. And they all seem to have a similar amount of life experience.
Limited.
Yeah, limited.
It's problematic.
Yeah.
And look, it's hard, you know? I mean, like, your parents want to protect you, and it is the natural response to want to push back against that. And you have to find that sweet spot, you know, of like the kids are trying to get into the end zone and the parents' job is to not, essentially, right? To keep them safe. But you want them to have life experience because then it prepares them more for life in the future. And it makes the whole experience as a family richer. And it's terrifying. Course.
Someone did actually have a great point. I do actually rock climb now.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Great.
and my mom is not happy about it.
Is really? Do you like free climb buildings though?
No,
not yet.
Not yes, exactly. Don't tell my mom.
I won't.
Yeah, no, I just boulder, but
yeah. Cool.
We'll see. Another Redditor says, simple. Your older daughter has 10 extra years of emotional abuse and is just that more ground down, while your younger one has seen what happened to her sister and has probably internalized the lesson that she's not going to tolerate that crap. OP says, that's fair. I made a lot of mistakes in my parenting. My youngest thinks her older sister is parentified and codependent, something her community college counselor told her. I looked up the terms and I can't help but agree. She hasn't moved out of guilt, and she feels responsible for me. I have created a monster. As for the youngest, I and my older daughter are scared she's going to act wild for the sake of fitting in and getting in trouble. Another Redditor says, so not only are you rude to your younger daughter to her face, you also trash talk her behind her back with her older sister? I don't know if that was entirely trash talking.
Yeah.
The teenage years were exactly the time both of your children should have been learning to socialize with their peers to develop their critical thinking skills for the real world, along with fitting in or not, and making good choices about all those things. You denied both of them that opportunity. How exactly do you expect either of your children to function in the world when you won't give them a chance to even experience the world in the first place? What exactly is your plan? Both of them go to a job, come home, do nothing, and live with you until you pass away? You expect them to never have friends, never develop romantic partnerships,
right.
Not have children of their own, not have hobbies they enjoy, to never travel or explore the world? That's not worrying about your kids. That's downright cruelty. And that is the end of the story. I think maybe something OP could think about is the fact that she is an immigrant and did travel and did make that very big, transition and leap.
I mean, it's hard to know what you don't know. So operating from that context of trying to make sense here in the States, and it's really wild. It must be really hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have any final thoughts on on the
About
story?
OP? I mean,
or for OP.
or for OP? I mean, no, I think, well, fundamentally, my approach is you need to collaborate with your children on their life. That is the opportunity of the parent to show up, and when they stumble, you help pick them up, and you're allowed to have boundaries, and they're allowed to not like it. And at a certain point, you have to remove those boundaries and let them be free. That's just kind of the way it goes. That's healthy attachment, and that's healthy development.
Yeah.
And it's totally hard. And don't ask your children to take care of you and how hard it is. That's not fair to them. And it won't work.
Yeah. Great.
Those are my final thoughts.
Those are great final
answer.
thoughts. Final answer. Yeah, that was the quiz.
Thank you. And Daniel, this is our time. But again,
Cool.
what a great guest.
Yeah, thank
we
you so
appreciate your
much.
time
Yeah,
and
man.
answering all those questions.
And also your expertise.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. What a cool thing you're doing. Thanks to the community for having me on. And thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
of course.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for
Okay.
coming.